Hey guys, I've got another game for us to go ahead and take a look at. You can see I'm about a 1200 elo on chess.com. This is a 3-minute blitz game, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm playing with the white pieces here, and I start off with the move e4. My opponent responds with the Scandinavian d5, and in this position I like to accept it. And now my opponent makes a mistake, and you can see already on the second move of the game, it's +1 for white because this is just a free pawn. You can go ahead and take back. And here you should take back with the bishop to at least begin development of a piece, but my opponent makes an even bigger mistake and just takes back with their f pawn. So not only does this open up the light squared diagonal by their king, this hampers the development of their light squared bishop in the future and creates this isolated pawn in the center. So you can see after 3 moves, it's already +2 for white. So let's see what happens here. So I go ahead and develop my knight, looking to get my king castled kingside and bring another piece into the game. My opponent develops their knight, very natural here, and the computer wanted me to go ahead and start pushing my d-pawn, but I developed this knight instead, which is still a fine move, getting more pieces into the game. My opponent then develops their dark squared bishop. This knight isn't pinned yet because I haven't moved the pawn, but now I make a bit of an inaccuracy, and what I should have done here was ask the question to the bishop and been like, what are you going to do? They could have looked to take it back, in which case I would recapture with the d-pawn here, and we could trade queens, and this would be fine for me because I am up. This is a weakness, and they can't really develop their position. But I jump the knight into the center, which is an inaccuracy, and my opponent goes ahead and castle. What my opponent could have done was they could have put their knight here on the d7 square and asked what I was doing with my knight, and I would have had to move it again, which would have wasted some time in the game. But my opponent castles, and now I develop my bishop, and I should have developed it here because this pawn is such a weakness. But I just developed it to this spot, and you can see this is an inaccuracy because now I can't move my d-pawn, and now my dark squared bishop is going to have a much harder time getting active here. So this is an inaccuracy on my part. So my opponent then makes a mistake. Again, you can see lots of mistakes here in the opening, and they push their c-pawn. They're looking to close down and work to kick my bishop in the future, but I can simply ignore it and castle, and they develop their light squared bishop. Now they have this open diagonal for them instead of focusing on this one, since they can't move this pawn, since my knight is clear positioned there currently. But I decide it's best to go ahead and take off the bishop, and they take back with the queen. And now I put more pressure on this pawn here. The computer wanted me to move my knight and offer a trade, so that way I could start to open up my queenside development. But my opponent goes ahead and takes this knight when they should have just developed their own knight to connect their rooks. And for some reason, I took back with the b pawn. I'm not entirely sure. I should have taken back with the c pawn here, but I took with the b pawn, and now I believe I was thinking I wanted to open up the b file for my rook to start developing in the future. My opponent then develops their knight, and I play the move bishop to c4, and here I have a sneaky threat. The only thing covering this pawn right here is the queen. You can see there's no rook, there's no knight that's defending the pawn, and now I've currently pinned the pawn to the king. So my opponent's best move would be to block this attack right here with the knight, or even move the king out of the way. That would be a bit worse because then I could pin this pawn. You could see back on the move before, at one point it wanted my opponent to move the king out of the way. We missed it here, but now this is a blunder because now I get to win a queen with the move bishop to e6. And they can either take back with the queen, and I'll take back with the rook, which is what happened in the game, or worse, they could just move the king, but that would just completely give my bishop even more, or that would just completely win the queen. So here in the game, I took back, and I won their queen. They went ahead and moved their knight. I kicked their knight, and they go ahead and move it. Again, I'm forcing them to move it once again, and now it's attacking the rook, so I drop back. Now here they hop their knight into d4. What they're looking to do is put a knight here on this e2 square, but I don't mind that. So I push my pawn and go ahead and open up my dark squared bishop, attacking this knight here, and they give a check. And here, knights are worth 3 points and rooks are worth 5. So I take back with the rook, because once they take back with their other knight, I'll take back with my queen, and I'm up material because one rook is worth 5 points, but 2 knights are worth 6 points. So I've won a point of material, and I'm up a piece now after that trade. So that's why that wasn't the best thing to do for my opponent. Here they attack my queen, so I drop it out of the way. They go ahead and move their rook to a more active file. But I can develop my bishop here and force this rook to move once again, because now my bishop sees the rook, but my bishop is also staring at this g7 pawn. My opponent then moves the rook out of the way. I push this pawn, but what I should have done here was threaten to checkmate, where they would have to move this rook yet again. Well, that's what the computer wants, or they could move this rook. Well, that rook would just blunder a rook, and I would be completely fine, which is why they would need to go here, and I would have to find a way to fork them. They could go here, and then I could go here and pin the rook, and yeah, it's a completely lost position for my opponent. But I try to push the pawn and open that up. They double their rooks. I create a luft for my king, so that way it can no longer be back rank checkmated. And now they attack my queen. Now I move my queen to this g5 square, and they kick it. But I can take this pawn off now, and once they push their pawn here, I simply have 2 pushed pawns, or passed pawns, that I'm looking to march down the board and make queens, and they are supported currently by my current queen. At this position, my opponent played the move g4. Everything is winning here. I find the move d4, and that would force them to move their rook. I could then give them a check up here, and you can see the evaluation bar would go mate and 10. And if they didn't move their rook here, let's say they played something like, let's just say rook here, then this would immediately threaten checkmate. So in this game, there were 2 main themes here that I found. It was this idea right here of being able to win a queen through a fork, being careful of what's happening here. They could have even tried to defend this way. It would have been better than what they did, because now this queen is simply lost. Well, in this instance, it's fine, because now it would blunder the bishop, because now when I take back, they can simply take back with their queen, and everything's fine. And I am now the one down a piece. So they needed to defend that pawn again. But since they tried to start pushing pawns on the queen side, I was able to take their queen. And then the other threat was the idea of piece value here. So in this instance, since they are looking to give up 2 knights for 1 rook, I am happy to take that, because I have a queen and a rook and a bishop versus 2 rooks, and it's completely winning for me. In this, since I have a queen, the fewer pieces on the board, the better, because my queen can go pawn hunting in the endgame. My queen can threaten the rooks through forks, since my queen can move diagonally, but the rooks can only move in straight lines. So this idea of knowing when to trade, I could have gotten scared and done something like king here, which would have been okay, but then they could have kept harassing me with their knights in the future, which is why in this position I was completely fine in trading the rooks for the 2 knights. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully you found something instructive from it. As always, I do live commentary, or I do commentary on games that I play from chess.com at around the 1200 ELO level, and I'm working to continue to get better at chess, as I hope you are as well. So hopefully you found something from this game. As always, make sure to watch some other videos, maybe drop some likes on some videos, and drop a sub to the channel, and we can keep growing and getting better together. And I hope you have a great day.